With the next Mass Effect game still far and away from us, it is still a little bit too early to make a predictions list for the companions and squad mates that we're gonna have in the next Mass Effect game, especially since we know almost nothing about the story and especially the characters that are gonna end up in this next Mass Effect game. But that doesn't mean that I still can't put together a 100% perfect, accurate list of the squad mates that we are going to have in the next Mass Effect game. So without further ado, join me as we count down the exact prediction for the characters and companions that we are going to have in Mass Effect 5. Way too early. Now, for this way too early companions predictions list, I've narrowed down the ones that I think are locks in my mind to a top 6. There are more we're going to be discussing about later, where I think if there's going to be more than 6 companions, but I think 6 is a safe number if you were to bet how many squad mates we are going to have exactly. Most might think this is a low number, but in Mass Effects 1 and Mass Effect Andromeda, we have exactly 6 squad mates in both of those games. In Mass Effect 2, obviously it's possible to have 6 or more. Same thing with Mass Effect 3, but in Mass Effect 3, it's also possible to end up with less than 6 squad mates. So I think that 6 is a safe number for the amount of squad mates that we will end up receiving in the next Mass Effect game. But obviously, there is going to be something later in this video breaking down even more that I think are definitely going to happen if there are more than 6 squad mates in Mass Effect 5. So let's break down this top 6 that I think are locks to be companions in the next Mass Effect game. The first 2 companions that I think are 100% money back guarantees that we are going to get in Mass Effect 5, pretty obvious: a human male and a human female squad mate. In every single Mass Effect game, with a little bit of an exception with Mass Effect 3, there have been a brand new human male and a brand new human female character. Obviously, in Mass Effect 3, you can have 2 male characters exclusively based on if Kaidan or Ashley is alive during your playthrough. And then obviously there is no new human female character in Mass Effect 3. It is just Ashley if she is alive and accepted back into your crew during that playthrough. But for the males specifically, there has been a brand new male squad mate in every single Mass Effect game for the humans. In Mass Effect 1, Kaidan Alenko. Mass Effect 2, there was Jacob and Zaid. In Mass Effect 3, there was James, and Mass Effect Andromeda, there was Liam. So I think there is really no other reason to believe why we won't have a human male character as a squad mate in Mass Effect 5, and especially being a brand new character. I think it is pretty much a 100% lock that we are going to get a new human male companion in the next Mass Effect game. Same with the human female. Like I said, with the exception of Ashley in Mass Effect 3, there has been a human female in every single Mass Effect game, with Ashley in Mass Effect 1, Miranda, Jack, and Kasumi in Mass Effect 2, Ashley again in Mass Effect 3, and Cora Harper in Mass Effect Andromeda. I also don't think there's any reason to believe that this human female character won't be new yet again, but I think if human male, specifically a new human male, is a 100% chance of happening in the next Mass Effect game, I think the human female is probably a 99% chance happening. Definitely going to be a human female, that's 100%, but if it's going to be a new or old character, who knows? Who knows? I still think there are some things left open with the Cora Harper character, especially considering her last name. So if you guys know what I'm talking about there, so maybe they bring her back as the female human companion, but I think this is pretty obvious. A male and female human for the first 2 companions in Mass Effect 5. Now, number 3, I do believe is going to be an Asari. There's been an Asari companion in every single Mass Effect game, with Liara in Mass Effect 1, Samara in Mass Effect 2, Liara again in Mass Effect 3, and PB in Mass Effect Andromeda. And I think with how heavy that this character has been in the Mass Effect 5 marketing so far, I think there's really no reason for me to believe that Dr. Liara T'Soni will not be making a return for a companion in Mass Effect 5. I think Liara is way too important of a character to BioWare and Mass Effect. Obviously a fan favorite companion and especially romance option in the original trilogy. Liara is also one of the only characters to appear in every single Mass Effect game, including Andromeda. She doesn't physically appear in Mass Effect Andromeda, but her voice is all over the place. So Liara has had a presence and role in every single Mass Effect game up to this point. There have been clear indications that she is going to be an important part of the next game once again, and with her physical form back, it seems that we've at least seen in the original teaser trailer for Mass Effect 5, I think that it's highly likely that a fan favorite character in Liara T'Soni makes her reappearance as a companion in Mass Effect 5. Now, 4, 5, and 6 is where we're going to get a little fun here. So 4 I think is the most likely out of these next 3. So 4 I believe is going to be a female Krogan. I think we are long overdue for a female Krogan squadmate, and especially a female. Is this female Krogan going to be a part of Clan Nakmor or Clan Urdnot? I'm not sure, but I do think it's going to be a female Krogan from either Clan Nakmor or Clan Urdnot, mostly because Clan Nakmor and Clan Urdnot are the two prominent Krogan factions that as players we have interacted with in the Mass Effect games. Obviously Urdnot Rex and Urdnot Grunt in the original trilogy, and Nakmor Drak in the rest of the Nakmor clan that was brought over on the Andromeda initiative. So I think if we do get a Krogan in the next Mass Effect game, I think it is a pretty high shot that it's either a part of Clan Nakmor or Clan Urdnot. Two familiar names to Mass Effect fans. Obviously, there's just a lot of lore and history there with both clans that we know now, and especially if the original trilogy and Andromeda arcs are trying to tie themselves together in the next game, I think Nakmor and Urdnot would be the two likely Krogans that we would see in the next Mass Effect game. But like I said, a female Krogan is long overdue. We've had 3 Krogans up to this point, and all of them have been male. As much as I love Nakmor Drak, there are a lot of people out there that really think that the Krogan squadmate in Mass Effect Andromeda should have been a female, just because there are female Krogan all over the place in that game. And we've had male Krogans as companions in the past, so why wasn't it a female Krogan? I think not just a female Krogan, but a romanceable Krogan is due for the next Mass Effect game, and I think that's exactly what we're going to get. A female Krogan, either a part of Clan Nakmor or Clan Urdnot, and she is going to be romanceable, and it's going to be the best single game romance storyline BioWare's ever done. It's going to be fantastic. It is going to completely make up for Mass Effect 3 not even having a Krogan companion. It is going to be off the chain, insane. Female Krogan, lock it in right now. Now, number 5 is where I kind of had some fun. Number 5 is probably my biggest stretch, and what I think we're going to get here, our 5th companion that we are going to get in Mass Effect 5 is a male Quarian. Let me explain. I have a little mini theory here. Obviously, one of the biggest holes in Mass Effect Andromeda felt by fans was the lack of Quarians in Mass Effect Andromeda. I sincerely believe that Quarians were supposed to be introduced in the game via DLC, potential and theorized Quarian arc DLC that fans really wanted in Mass Effect Andromeda, and the storyline that was teased at the end of Mass Effect Andromeda's main story when we hear about the Quarian arc that had a delayed launch from the Milky Way and is now sending out a distress call once it reaches Andromeda. I think because of the lack of Quarians, and especially a Quarian companion in Mass Effect Andromeda, I think the Quarians will be making their return to the next Mass Effect game, and a Quarian will be making its return as a companion. Quarians have always been a fan favorite species. Obviously, Tali is a highly, highly loved and praised character from the original trilogy. Everyone loves Tali, and I think the lack of Quarians in Mass Effect Andromeda was a pretty loud absence, I would say. Now, I'm saying a female Krogan and a male Quarian just because we've seen so many male Krogan companions in the past, and then obviously we've only had Tali in the original trilogy, and I don't think they would do another female Quarian as a companion just because there's no possible way that they'd be able to live up to what Tali was as a character. So I'm pretty much guaranteeing that if there's a Quarian squadmate in Mass Effect 5, it's going to be a male Quarian. And specifically, this is where a little stretch could happen. This is where tinfoil hats come on a little bit. That the male Quarian squadmate that we are going to get in the next Mass Effect game is Telem Yared Vaskila Sia. And for those of you who don't know who that is, Telem Yared is the Quarian Pathfinder of the Quarian arc, the Kila Sia. I think with the direction that the next Mass Effect game seems to be going story-wise at this point, with trying to meld the Andromeda and original trilogy storylines in some way, what better way to do that than picking up one of the biggest untied and unfinished storylines from Mass Effect Andromeda, which is what the heck happened to the Quarian arc and the distress call that Ryder receives at the end of the game from the Quarian arc. What better way to reintroduce Quarians to the Mass Effect series than to finish up that storyline, find out what happened to the Quarian arc and all the other species on there, and then we gain a companion from that storyline that happens to be the Quarian Pathfinder himself. I think that would be so sweet. That's what should have happened with the Quarian arc DLC in Mass Effect Andromeda, and I think that it is going to be such a satisfying way to bring back one of the most popular races in all of Mass Effect and tie off a big storyline that was left open. Now, number 6 isn't anything too specific. I think number 6 for our 6th companion in the next Mass Effect game that I think we're pretty much guaranteed to get is a new species. I think this could either be an existing species that has never been a companion, like Legion and the Geth, for an example, in Mass Effect 2, and the Drell, for another example, with Thane in Mass Effect 2, or it could be a new species to the Mass Effect universe entirely, like Javik and Jaal, with Javik being the first physical Prothean that we ever saw in the Mass Effect series, and obviously Jaal being a part of a brand new species to the series entirely with the Angara. So I think they like that trend. I think it's a really good way to spice things up in the companion roster with a species that's brand new. It adds a species that can give us so much more lore about a brand new species, and I think that that's pretty much a lock. Whether it's an existing species that has never been a companion before, like a Batarian or a biotic god Volus or an Elcor warrior, one of those maybe, or a brand new species entirely that could either come from the Andromeda Galaxy or the Milky Way Galaxy, if that's where the next game is going to take place. Now, moving on to possible companions, if there are more than 6. I think if there's more than 6 companions, these are the ones that I think are definitely locks for more than 6. I capped it off at 12, as you can see, with another 6 listed right here, because 12 is the most amount of companions that we've ever had in a Mass Effect game. In Mass Effect 2, there were 12 companions, and I don't see any reason why they would give us more than that ever. So I think the range of companions that we're looking at here is anywhere from 6 to 12, and the first 6 we talked about earlier are ones that I think are pretty much guarantees in the next Mass Effect game. But these ones, if there's more than 6, I think are the ones that we're pretty much guaranteed to get. Now, the first one here, some of you may be surprised that this wasn't listed on the first top 6 list of characters. This is honestly interchangeable with most of them in there. There's never been a Mass Effect game without a Turian Squadmate, And so obviously I think if there's more than 6 or even 6, this could be thrown in there if there's just 6, but I do think that the Turians are going to make their return for a Mass Effect Squadmate. Male or female, I'm not so sure. I wouldn't want them to do another male, just because same reason with why I want the next Quarian companion to be a male is because I don't want there to be another male sitting in the shadow of Garrus, because Garrus is obviously another one of those perfect characters from the original trilogy. And I think introducing another male Turian, especially if it's set in the Milky Way galaxy, wouldn't sit right with everyone, just because, you know, our guy Garrus. I think a female Turian would be more likely if they bring back a Turian for a Squadmate in the next Mass Effect game. With how new Vetra was in Mass Effect Andromeda, and especially how popular Vetra was one of the more popular companions in Mass Effect Andromeda. If there's going to be a Turian, it's likely to be another female Turian, but I also think there's a chance that somehow, if these take place in the same timeline as Andromeda, that Vetra could possibly make a reappearance as the Turian companion, just based off of how popular and how awesome of a character she was in Andromeda. I would love to see Vetra again. Obviously, I'd love to see a Turian again, specifically a female Turian, just because of how little interaction we've had with them in Mass Effect's history. So I think if there's going to be a 7th, and like I said, this could easily slip into the top 6, I think we're likely to get another female Turian and possibly Vetra again. Now, the next one, I think, if there's more than 6 Squadmates, is a Solarian, mostly because we've seen a Solarian in some of the teaser images for the next Mass Effect game and some of the teaser concept arts. Obviously, Solarians being another very popular Mass Effect species. It's a council race, and the fact that we've only ever had one Mass Effect game out of the 4 where we've had a Solarian Squadmate, I think it's likely that a Solarian comes up again in the next Mass Effect game. Whether it's male or female, I have no idea. Males and females are pretty much identical in the Mass Effect universe, so it's kind of hard to tell just based off of pictures. But I think it's also possible that we could be seeing the Listheni breed of Solarians, the bigger, taller, buffer ones. I think that would be cool if they slid in a Listheni Solarian Squadmate. That would be really, really cool as well. Number 3, or I guess really number 8, for possible companions of more than 6, I think a Geth could be likely in this scenario, just because in the 2022 teaser video that we got from BioWare, there was a Geth interacting with Liara. So right now, a Geth is really one of the only characters that we know about in general for the next Mass Effect game. So there's really no reason to believe that a Geth, especially the one that we've seen in the N7 teaser image, there's no reason to believe why a Geth couldn't be possible as another companion in Mass Effect. Obviously, Legion being a companion in Mass Effect 2 we have seen before, and Legion was a very special companion just because of how shocking it was. Legion was a surprise companion in Mass Effect 2, and how important he was to the Geth storyline and the Geth people as a whole. I think if they were going to do a Geth in the next Mass Effect game, it would be a Geth that is fully independent. So it would kind of be a Geth version of EDI that we would be getting in the next Mass Effect game, and I think that'd be cool. And because of the Geth presence that we've seen in a lot of the next Mass Effect games teases so far, I think a Geth is possible, and probably likely if there are more than 6, of course. My top 6 is a lock. The next one I think is definitely possible is a Drell. We have seen a Drell also in some of the same teaser images that we've seen the Solarians in. Again, only one Mass Effect game that we've ever seen a Drell in, so it might be nice for BioWare and Mass Effect to throw in another Drell companion, just because we've had such little interaction with Drell. And Thane is another one of those just iconic characters that would be really hard to live up to that standard if they do a Drell. one possible thing they could do here is make it a female drill. That would definitely be different, definitely would be shocking, and definitely welcome. So I think just because we've seen a drill in some of the teaser images for the next Mass Effect game, I think drill is definitely a possibility for a companion in the next Mass Effect game. Next, I think the Angara is definitely possible. We've seen an Angara in the N7-day teaser image, so we know that somehow, some way, the Angara are still involved in the next Mass Effect game. Jaal became one of my favorite companions in all of Mass Effect with Mass Effect Andromeda, and Jaal was probably widely accepted by the community as the best companion in Mass Effect Andromeda, and I think there is so much more to explore with the Angara as a species, just because they're so new to Mass Effect. We've only had them for one game, and I think that there's so much more to explore with the Angara, so much more to do with them, and I think if there's a lot of companions in the next Mass Effect game, I think getting an Angara is pretty likely, especially considering that we've seen one now in the N7-day teaser image in 2023. So I would love to see another Angara. Specifically, I would love to see Jaal back. I know the image of the Angara in the N7-day teaser image resembles Jaal slightly. So I think if there is an Angara back, specifically Jaal, I think that'd be great. And I think it's definitely possible if there is a large amount of companions in the next Mass Effect game, is BioWare bringing back their most popular companion from Mass Effect Andromeda being Jaal or another Angara. And then finally, I think there is always a chance that there is a surprise or DLC companion. What do I mean by that? Obviously, in Mass Effect 2, there was a surprise and DLC companions, with the surprise companion being Legion, as I mentioned earlier, and there have been plenty of DLC characters throughout Mass Effect. BioWare's definitely no stranger to doing DLC characters with Zaid, Kasumi, and Javik in Mass Effect 3. So I think it's definitely possible that either sometime down the line of the Mass Effect 5 DLC season, assuming there is one, that a companion DLC pops up like there has been in the past, or even a surprise sort of companion that they don't tell us about and it's just kind of revealed in a really special way in the next Mass Effect game. This could be something like, just totally ballparking right here, by the way, this is not an actual prediction, but this would be something like a Ket companion or a Ralloy or something like that. Just something completely out of the blue, shocking, game-changing. I think there's always a chance for a surprise or cool DLC companions that they add. As we know, DLC companions, with the exception of Javik, have been duplicate races, as the Mass Effect 2 DLC companions were both humans, so I could definitely see them going down that line again. Or another surprise DLC companion being something like absolutely insane and ridiculous, like Commander Shepard, or another companion from the original trilogy, something just crazy like that. I think there's always the potential for that. But I think if there were to be a top 6 companions that I think are pretty much locks for the next Mass Effect game, as of right now, this date, we know pretty much nothing about the story and characters of the next Mass Effect game. I think this is it, and if there's more than that, I think these in order are the next likely after that to be companions in the next Mass Effect game. This was my way too early companions predictions list for the next Mass Effect game, but I want to know what you guys think. Please tell me down below what companions you would love to see in the next Mass Effect game. This list was, yes, it was a predictions list, but also kind of a wish list for what I would like to see in the next Mass Effect game. So leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think is going to be happening in the next Mass Effect game when it comes to what companions we're going to get, what characters we're going to see. Leave a like if you want to see more of these videos, especially as we get closer to launch, when we get more information, and subscribe if you want to see all things Mass Effect and sci-fi gaming on this channel. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.